Carriers, you have this power. You have this power to go in and talk to shippers and talk to people and to see exactly where the opportunity is, because there's a lot of opportunity out here, especially if you have your own assets.
Welcome to This Week in Trucking. I'm Amy, and today we're joined by Daushawn Falls, founder of Tenacity Express Freight Brokerage, who built this business with one core belief: when life pushes, push harder. But before we get into it, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an update. Your support helps us keep bringing weekly videos your way. Thank you for joining us, Deshawn.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Can you start by telling us how you got into trucking and logistics?
So I got into trucking in about 2012. Actually was a decision that I had been thinking about. My dad is a truck driver. He kind of got it started and everything. He was driving over the road, and I was kind of figuring out what I would want to do with my life. And, I decided, hey, let's try this trucking thing out. And I tried it out, got with CR England, and kind of liked it, kind of didn't like it. It was kind of crazy, just being over the road, being away from family, different things like that, dealing with snow. I'm a California baby, so I'm not really used to dealing with the snow. But once I kind of got adjusted and started to, make a career out of it, it's been good to me.
And then when did you start Tenacity Express?
So Tenacity Express actually started last year. So previous to all of this stuff, I owned my own trucking company for a while. Started off as a company driver, then I owned my own trucks. And in the midst of owning my own trucks, things were kind of challenging as far as cash flow is concerned. Every time we would like to scale, it was pretty pricey. So our next best steps was to try to start a brokerage, and we did. Started a brokerage, so I had a truck company and a brokerage simultaneously. And brokerage was doing pretty decent, started to have a little challenges. So Tenacity Express was birthed from that. We partnered with Trinity Logistics, who is now our partner, and it started October of last year.
In these months that you've been operating, here in this channel, we like to give owner-operators and carriers real insights of what is going on in the industry. Could you tell us what are the 3 most common misconceptions small carriers have about broker profit margins or negotiating rates, and how they can negotiate more effectively?
So I think the biggest misconception is that brokers are making a killing on every single load. Some loads we do make good money on, some loads we don't, and the loads that we do make the good money on pretty much makes up for the times that we take losses or take haircuts or, might not have the best negotiating power. So I think that's the biggest misconception, that we make a killing on every load. Obviously, the market is cyclical. Sometimes it's in the favor of the brokers, and then sometimes it's in the favor of the carriers. I think we're coming up on a carrier favorite market coming up here fairly soon, maybe sometime next year. So yeah, I think that's the biggest misconception. I think carriers can negotiate more effectively by knowing their numbers and being firm about what their numbers are. I talk to carriers a lot. A lot of times I ask them, what do you want to make on this shipment? And I'm giving them the opportunity to tell me, and they don't have to feel like it's a disrespect or that their number is not feasible. Sometimes the number that you want is out there. And if you hold firm to it and, you make that not necessarily demand, but you make it known that that's the number that you would like to run the shipment for, a lot of times that's the number that goes.
Yeah. And then on that note, what is the biggest mistake you see carriers making when trying to secure freight and build a reliable relationship?
Just miscommunication. I think as long as you communicate, as long as you keep the lines of communication open, as long as you have your drivers tracking and withholding that paperwork as soon as they get it as assigned and everything like that, I think you don't have any issues. I think that's the biggest thing, at least for me, that I run into. It's all about communicating. It's all about updates, or if anything's happening in transit, letting me know. Like literally, prime example, I had a carrier yesterday. They had a 2-stop load. They delivered, one was in Spokane, one was in Kent. And the way that the load was structured, they were supposed to go to Kent first and then Spokane. But they took it upon themselves to go to Spokane first and then go to Kent. And that's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's just something that has to be communicated, right? The customer is interested in that information. And that's what helps us to get these customers, is to keep them in the know of everything that's going on. So
Yeah.
Just communication.
And then what are you specifically looking for when you're onboarding a new carrier, and how can they establish trust with you quickly?
The thing that I'm looking for the most, usually, the perfect, or should I say the best thing, or the most beneficial part of working with Trinity is they have a ton of carrier relationships already input into their system. So I'm mostly looking for how many shipments they've ran, just different things that's going on with their MC. But for me personally, I'm just looking for clean communication. I'm looking for updates. I'm looking for, you know, if you're serious about running this load, I want to look good to the customer. So you got to make me look good, right? If you make me look good, I want to use you all the time. I like to work with the same guys every shipment if I can, because those guys who do a great job, especially if they are negotiating the number that they like, they can have these loads all the time. I remember certain situations where you get that contract opportunity and you work with carriers, and those same carriers run those loads literally every day. No negotiation, no talking, no nothing. I got 5 loads this week, take all 5 of them. You know what I'm saying? So just communicating and providing updates and just letting us know exactly what's going on at all times.
And then how do you decide which carriers to give loads to? Like, what factors really matter beyond just the lowest rate?
Factors that matter for me is relationship. That's a big deal. Relationship, consistency. So like I said, I work with Trinity, so we are able to go and look back at nodes, different shipments that they've ran, mistakes that they've made. And just because they've made a mistake doesn't mean that they're ousted or they can't run a load for us. Just being cognizant, hey, these type of things have happened, and I'll let them know this is an important shipment. We need this to go. We can't have any mistakes on this. Just keep us updated, things like that. So what I'm looking for mostly is relationship, is ease of service. How easy is it the person to talk to, and are they interested in building a relationship with me? We usually are running the same loads all the time. So the way they communicate with me, if they're interested in building a friendship or partnership, a real deal, being a partner in, as far as moving our freight.
What is your experience with smaller fleets, and what do you think could set them apart from larger, more established fleets?
Oh, I mean, I got a ton of experience with smaller fleets. I used to be a smaller fleet, so I know exactly how that game goes. And I think smaller fleets can really benefit from marketing and promoting, just changing the way they think about their fleet as a whole. I know sometimes we think because we're a small business that we have to operate as a small business, but we have to look at some of the things those bigger companies are doing. What did they do to get big? They marketed and promoted. They got company emails and different things like that. The way the businesses is structured, having somebody that's a spokesperson or a salesperson. Like for me, I had to learn sales. I didn't know anything about sales. I just was a truck driver when I started this, and shout out to truck drivers. I still have my CDL to this day. I love it. But as you become a business owner, you have to take your mind out of being a owner operator, quote unquote, and figure out how do I build a business, right? So I think that's what can really help them is graduating from that mindset of I'm just a small fleet to I'm a business, I'm a corporation. I can market and promote on LinkedIn. I can, get out there and build relationships and get contracts and different things like that. Just changing the mindset of I don't want to be a spot market carrier. I want to be a player.
How important is technology like ELD data tracking apps when a broker like you is evaluating a small carrier?
I think it's a big deal. The biggest deal is just the tracking. The tracking is huge. A lot of times we send our customers those tracking links. The customers want to know where this freight is, especially high value freight. I move a lot of precious metals, construction materials, different things like that, things that are valuable. And the customers want to know where this stuff is at. So that's the biggest deal is the tracking. I mean, obviously tracking tools, trucker tools, macro point, forecasts, different things like that is important. But as far as their ELD, I've been seeing a lot of Samsara links being passed around, when I move freight with certain carriers, and that's been pretty good too. So, the technology is important, especially the Samsara. I like it.
In your experience, what are the most common mistakes small carriers are making during or after the load is booked? And how can they avoid that to ensure better or smoother relationships with you?
Mistakes made during, like I mentioned earlier, mistakes made during, sometimes they might make a judgment call on their own, like calling the receiver or just doing different things that we are responsible for. Like if there's something that's happening, let me know, and then I'll, make that judgment call, call that receiver, call that shipper, let them know exactly what's going on. That's not your responsibility necessarily. So I don't really like those things. So that's a huge mistake. And then also just not being forthcoming with the paperwork and different things like that. As you make these stops or make these deliveries, send that paperwork in. Don't wait. Don't wait. Send it in ASAP so everybody can get what they need.
And then what do you think is the key to seamless payment from a carrier's perspective What documentation or actions do you need most to ensure that they get paid quickly?
Just paperwork. Paperwork is the biggest thing. Paperwork, make sure it's legible, make sure that everything that is supposed to be on there is on there, make sure all in and out times are documented, just different things like that. Like literally, I just got some paperwork last week, a customer is asking for it, and it's all blurry. Like when you said that, you noticed that it was blurry. So it's like you got to take the time to fix that and make sure that everything looks good. If you can't see it, we can't see it, and if we can't see it, the customer can't see it. So it's like it just causes this whole thing where everything takes longer for something that could have been fixed, right away. So I think just the paperwork, that's the most important thing.
If you were starting Tenacity Express again today, what would you do differently?
What I would do from the gate is go after building materials, construction projects, cranes, different things like that. When I started in the industry as a whole, I kind of started off in the reefer game. The reefer game was good to me, but I started to notice a trend. I started to figure out that I wanted to be in the heavy haul space. I wanted to be in the construction project space. I wanted to be in this space, and I had to basically rebuild an entire book of business catered towards that market. So a new carrier base, new customers, different things like that. And it's been a challenge, but I'm finally starting to catch some rhythm here as of late. So I would have just started out the gate doing that.
And on that note, now that you mention it, could you tell us some of your interesting stories or maybe a challenge that comes to mind now that you move a little bit more in the heavy haul space?
So I talk about a customer acquisition story. So literally maybe back in August, a couple months ago, I do a lot of in-person prospecting. I go out there and talk to shippers, just talk to different people to see if there's opportunity there. The first location that I went to back in August, I had kind of always seen flatbeds and things outside of their building. And I just kind of went inside and just introduced myself. I had seen a guy smoking in the parking lot, smoking a cigarette. And I was like, hey, man, you mind introducing me to your manager? And he was like, oh, he's in there. I was like, okay, I'm going to go in there and see, if he would speak to me. And then he put his cigarette out and he said, no, you know what? I'm going to go introduce you. So he walked me inside. And I see him walking to the back, and I can hear him talking to the manager. And he was like, nah, I don't feel like talking. I can hear the manager talking. No, I don't feel like talking like that right now. I was like, oh, man, he going to put me out. He said, wait, he said he moves flatbed freight? And the guy was like, yeah. He's like, okay, I'm going to go see what he has to say. So he comes up, and he introduces himself to me. I introduce myself to him. And I'm talking about, he showed me around the entire warehouse, like one small interaction like that. He started showing me around the warehouse. We hit it off. I'm thinking, maybe we talk for 5-10 minutes. We end up talking for an hour. Like we was talking for an hour, and I told him this was in San Bernardino, California, and I was actually headed to Temecula. I told him, I said, hey, I'm about to head to Temecula. I don't want to take up all your time. I already took an hour. But he was like, and honestly, you don't even have to go to Temecula. This might be the last stop you need to go to. Seriously. And I still end up going to Temecula, in a week, like maybe a week later, Amy, he sent the information to get us on board, and we started moving freight with them immediately, like back to back to back, boom, boom, boom. So that's an interesting story. That's a story for carriers too. Carriers, you have this power. You do have this power to go in and talk to shippers and talk to people and to see exactly where the opportunity is, because there's a lot of opportunity out here, especially if you have your own assets.
Yeah, we talked to Justin from Truckpedia, I think it's called. And that was one of the things he told us, that in-person prospecting is high priority.
It never
want
fails.
to make actually.
It never fails. It never fails. No.
For sure. Awesome. So is there anything else you'd like to tell to our audience?
I would just like to say, I know that we are in a trying time economically. I know things are changing drastically. The industry looks a lot different than it looked a couple of years ago. It really does. A lot of players are falling out of the market, bankruptcies, just everything's happening right now. And I just would like to leave on a positive note to say that I feel like everything's going to be all right. I feel like everything's going to be all right. I know it's turmoil going on, I know, but there's still a ton of opportunity. There's still a lot of room for growth, especially if you are small, you're just getting started. This is the perfect time to start, because there's a lot of people that, or should I say, a lot of companies that have not put their best foot forward or just are having trouble. And that's your opportunity to go in there and change the game, So I think 2026 is going to be a great year. I think that everybody should be excited. And I'm definitely excited. So that's what I would like to just say to everybody that's watching. It's going to be great in 2026. I'm willing to bet. I'm willing to bet.
Awesome. I love closing on a good note. Thank you so much for joining me today, Deshawn. For everyone watching, leave your comments below. If you have any questions for Deshawn directly, I'll send them over to him. Don't forget to subscribe to This Week in Trucking to learn more about the industry and never miss a conversation. And don't forget to sign up for our free newsletter to get the best cities to pick up loads straight to your inbox. Thank you so much for joining me, Deshawn.
Thank you so much for having me, Amy. I really appreciate it.
Drive safe.